Welcome to the American Valor podcast. Today we are speaking with Brad Gregory Ziegler. Brad is a retired Major League Baseball pitcher, played for four teams, finishing out with the Diamondbacks. He is fifth on the list of pitchers with the most seasons with 65 plus games pitched and an ERA under 2.50. I love that. His slider, the movement was mesmerizing. And as a Navy man, I am proud to say that he even flew on the Blue Angels. So go Navy. He played for Team USA in the World Baseball Classic and has a couple of division titles under his belt. Brad, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about you.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And that's kind of cool. Some of those stats I didn't even know, so that's kind of fun. Um, so I was born in Central Kansas, and then bounced around a little bit until I was five, and then my dad got a job as a preacher at a church in Odessa, Missouri, and I grew up in Odessa all through high school. My parents lived there into my professional career, into my big league career. And then eventually they moved to Arkansas, and I ended up settling down just on the Kansas side of Kansas City. So that's where I'm at now, and it's fun to reminisce about my career a little bit, but it also, like, in some ways it seems like, gosh, I think I could still do this, and then in other ways I'm like, that was so long ago, like I would need a full year to prepare just to even see if I could try it again. And but fortunately, my kids keep me active, and so I don't feel too completely detached from the sports world because of that.
Yeah, I share the sentiment on the military side, right? I always say, oh, I can do this, keep going. But then I'm looking at what's going on now, and I'm like, hey, there's a reason why I retired, right? So,
Hmm.
folks, at the Bob Feller Active Valor Foundation, we strive to educate, support, and recognize by instilling the timeless values of service, sacrifice, legacy, and citizenship. Now, Brad, based on the pillars mentioned, I would love to start this conversation with sacrifice. And I know that baseball demands a lot time, energy, and focus. And what sacrifices did you experience during your journey as a professional athlete, and how have they shaped you?
So I would say the bigger sacrifices for me came toward the end of my career. But when we started at the beginning, I was an overhand pitcher. I was working my way up through the minor leagues with Oakland, and then I decided to or the A's asked me about converting to be a submarine pitcher. And it was at 26 years old, relearning how to throw all over again, with a completely different motion, was a challenge. Like, it was mentally a challenge more than anything. Like, to convince myself this is the path for me, and the A's were set. This is what we see you as. We're willing to teach you this delivery. But for me, I was like, look, I just finished second in the Double A league in ERA. Why do we need to change what's going on? And they said, to kind of give me a little reassurance. I think this was not a last ditch effort. If this did not work, they wanted me back as an overhand pitcher, but they wanted to try it. They saw it as a way to get me to the big leagues faster and maybe help me stick longer once I got there. And because I felt like it wasn't a last resort, like if this didn't work, I'm out of the game forever. Then at that point, I was like, okay, now I'm willing to give it a shot, because I still have my fallback plan of at least trying to get there at that point. And about a year and a half later, I was in the big leagues, and it wasn't without bumps along the way. In 2004, pitching a playoff game in Modesto, I was a starting pitcher at that time, and the second pitch of the game got lined right back at me and hit me in the side of the head, and I had a skull fracture. Was in ICU for 6 nights. It was one of those that some guys. Fortunately for me, I never had trouble getting back on the mound after, like, the very first time. Like, once I got back, faced a hitter, and me maybe even had, like, the first comebacker kind of whiz past me a little bit, where okay, like, I can do this again. I know some guys never get back to that point because of physiological reaction that they have, and it's the mental challenge of getting back out there. So I was fortunate from that respect, but also I had um, any military person can say the same thing, but a pro athlete lifestyle is very challenging for a family. It's there's a lot of travel, a lot of late night getting in games at a different time zone. We get on a plane and fly back and get in at 4 or 5 in the morning and have to be up. Kids are getting up at 7:30 and they're they want to see dad who's been gone for 10 days and then I got to be ready to go pitch that night. And it's there's a lot of I think a lot of similarities in the lifestyle in that it's just a lot of a grind on your body to be physically ready for the demand every day. But I never want to compare it to the point where like I don't know anything about risking my life for my country, for my brothers, anything along those lines. But from a just off the field standpoint, the challenges presented for a family and for that lifestyle, I think are very similar. And it's it was something that honestly was probably the primary reason why I retired when I did. I think I still could have pitched at least another year or two. And I know when I retired, I was fortunate enough the Diamondbacks. Um, so when I had informed them that I was retiring, they immediately called my agent and said, he had a great career. We're proud to be part of it. Is everything okay, like health wise and everything? Because we were prepared to offer him a contract to return next year. And my agent just told him like, yeah, like he's just ready to be done. And I had actually made the decision before the my last season in conjunction with my wife because it was like it's getting hard. We had kids that were um, growing up and really starting to miss me at that point. And it was getting really hard on her with me being gone so much and coming home and trying to adjust to that lifestyle while I'm home. And then I turn around and leave and then she's back doing it by herself. And I know there's a lot of military wives that can completely relate to that. And fortunately for our standpoint, it was a week to 10 days at a time, not 6 months to a year at a time. And it's you know we had a good support system with family and stuff, but it was still just really challenging for the kids. And we just decided at that point it was time for me to be home. And so we decided again prior to 2018 that was going to be my last year. And so I pitched that whole year knowing that, but I didn't tell anybody that, other than we had a very select group of friends that came out to my very last series in San Diego to be part of. They knew it was like a retirement party for me, but I didn't tell the team. I didn't tell my teammates anything. And it was a lot of fun to be able to celebrate with a lot of those that are my closest friends and family.
Yeah, you're right. There's similarities in the way the demand is right on family. Yeah, this obviously stark difference from going into harm's way when bullets and RPGs are coming at you and things like that.
Absolutely.
That is different, but you still suffer some setbacks and you still suffer some injuries. Some are, you would say, career ending, and some are fatal, right? So,
Sure.
this human body doesn't really recognize whether you're on the on the ball field or you're in the actual DMZ or actual operational field. It's still gonna be affected and impacted in the same way. And that sacrifice, we thank you for making that, because when we come back from deployment, we look forward to watching those games, right? So it's kind of like a give and take there between
Sure.
sports and the military. Now let's talk about service, because as we're talking about the military, as a professional athlete, you have a platform that you can reach many. How do you see your role in serving the communities you're in as part of that?
Well, I was fortunate growing up in a church where my dad was the preacher. There was a lot expected of us from a young age. Like we help out at the church, we help out at community events, and we're always representing God in every aspect of our life. And so that from the time I was very little, that was always instilled in me. But when I got to the big leagues, specifically in Oakland, they had a ticket program at that time for their players where the players could donate tickets, and then the A's foundation would match the donation to any nonprofit or organization of their choosing, and they gave a discounted price on the tickets that we had to purchase. And so guys were doing like the Boys and Girls Club, there, various organizations in the area, but that I was aware of, no one was doing anything with the military. And so I asked them, is there a military um, group that we could get in touch with to get some tickets to come out to games? Because I thought, from my perspective, not knowing a lot about that lifestyle, but respecting what they do so much, like I thought a night at the ballpark that is completely paid for, take care of parking, take care of tickets. If they want food, we could, and we ended up working in with Oakland specifically. We had ticket vouchers for discounted food for the military families that came, and they just give them a night out that was a very minimal expense compared to what it would typically cost a family of four or five or six, and take their mind off of their loved ones serving overseas, or their brothers overseas, or maybe just while they're on a little bit of leave time at home, like just a night out with the family that doesn't cost them an arm and a leg. And so I approached them about that, got in contact with a couple organizations in the Bay Area, and we were able to get the tickets out to them. And from that stemmed the desire to start a nonprofit. And so we started Pastime for Patriots that did that. Our goal was to do that initially, to do that in all 32 parks. Um, we came to realize that there are some parks where it's not feasible. Number one, there's no military in the area necessarily, but number two, the teams that sell out every night are not going to give you like super cheap tickets in bulk, and they don't need to, and then a lot of times they don't even have the capability during the season. You would have to be a year or two out to even do that. So we ended up getting to focus on certain teams specifically, um, and all the ones that I will say, all the ones that I played for worked with me extremely well. When I went from Oakland to Arizona and I told the Diamondbacks Foundation about what I was doing, they immediately got in touch with people at Travis Air Force Base, put them in touch with our foundation, and we had them coming to games, within a couple of weeks of me being acquired by the Diamondbacks. Same thing whenever I, ended up in Miami. There are plenty of military bases down in Florida. So we had a lot of them, a lot of special forces groups coming out. And it was something that was it was a passion I had. I've always considered myself very patriotic, and an emotional supporter of the military, but that was my first tangible experience giving back. And through that, I've met so many, amazing families and great people. And I got to take an overseas trip in 2010 to Djibouti, to the military base there, and spent a couple days out on a Navy ship, the USS Kearsarge, and then a couple days on the base there in Djibouti. And I still have friends from that trip that military friends that I met that I keep in contact with. And it was just, such a great experience for me to get to, experience for 2 or 3 days what they experience, for some people for 20 years or more. And it's just hard to to put into words the amount of respect I have for them, but I'm so grateful for it, because I know we wouldn't be playing baseball and walking around with the comfort and the freedoms we have without the service that they're providing us, and protecting us from threats all over the world. And just extremely grateful for their sacrifice. And um, now the foundation, since then, since I've gotten out of baseball, it's modified a little bit. It's also branched out to first responders around the country, and working with the teams that my agent, or the players that my agent still has um, under his, that he works with the teams that they're working with. And so it's now called Pastime with a Purpose. They changed the name to give it, a broader spectrum. And they still do a lot of stuff. I know Steven Matz, I think he's with the Rangers now, is still very heavily involved with that. And it's just it's fun to see it continue after I've been out of it. But also at the same time, my experiences while I was playing, and the people I got to meet were just, it was just extremely extremely touching. Tons of memories made. I have a great relationship with the Navy SEALs in San Diego. That every time we went and played the Padres, we got to go out to the base and hang out with them a little bit and let them come to some games that night. And we'd occasionally rent out the big warehouse in left field that the Padres have there. We'd rent a level out, bring it just for Navy SEALs and their families, and not tell anyone that it was happening, but give them a night out and let them just go and drink and have fun and eat a lot of hot dogs and go enjoy hopefully some good baseball. Hopefully we didn't disappoint on the baseball side of things too much.
A wonderful example of service, especially after, right? The nonprofit world does require some TLC because it's just the nature, but so beautiful to see that you focused on the military personnel because it is a nice thing to do when people are away on deployment to take the kids and just have a nice time at the park. Now, you went on the Kearsarge, which is LHD 5. I was on the USS Iwo Jima, which is LHD 7. And
Okay,
so we're actually in Norfolk, we were parked right across from each other. You were
awesome,
on my class ship. But
cool, very cool.
that's wonderful, wonderful that you had that experience. Now, let's move on to legacy. What do you hope people remember most about you from your time on and off the field?
Number one, I hope they were able to see my faith through everything I did, and understand that while I'm not perfect, that's why I need God and Christ in my life, and I hope that they could see through the mistakes that I made and understand that I was trying my best to live my life for Christ. Um, I hope they thought I was a nice guy, like a fun guy to be around. But I also know I'm not going to please everybody, and I I just wanted to I wanted to be able to walk away knowing that I didn't have regrets with the way I treated people, with the way that the effort I put into baseball to get to where I got and to stay there as long as I did. It was I just didn't want to. There's always the what if. What if I had done this? What if I'd done that? I didn't want to have that when I turned 40, 45, and my career was in my rear window. So I tried to live every day as hard as I could. And from the day I got to the big leagues, I was a 28-year-old rookie, and I was just so excited to be there that my whole goal. I have no control over, do they send me back to the minors? Do they release me? Do they trade me? That's all completely out of my hands. But I could control how much video I watched to prepare for the game that night, what scouting reports I studied. Did I do my weight program, my throwing program, my conditioning program the way I needed to? And my whole goal, and I could say this for the first 5, 6 years of my career before I finally, kind of got a contract that gave me some security, was I just want to make it challenging for them to send me to the minor leagues. Like if I'm going to go, fine, but I want it to be a tough decision for them. Like it's just there's only so much I can control, but I was gonna go out and prepare the best I could, pitch the best I could, compete the best I could, and fight for my teammates the best I could. And when I walked off the field, no, okay, I gave that outing everything I got. Now it's time to prepare for the next one. And I hope that people could see that in the way. I mean, I threw like in the high 80s. I wasn't a power pitcher by any means, but I lasted 11 years, you know, trying to be effective in the way that I did pitch, and that took a lot of work, and it took a lot of trust in my defense behind me. Like I was not a really a crazy strikeout pitcher, so I needed guys to make plays behind me, and fortunately, I've played with a lot of great defenses, and relying on teammates, I think is a lot that another thing in common with the military, where it's like you're one part of a bigger picture, and if you do your role and everybody else does their role, then you're likely to have success on the back end of it. And whenever mistakes are made, or when things don't go well, you step back, refocus, take a look at what could we do better, and try to be better the next time out. And fortunately, from a baseball perspective, that doesn't end with loss of life or um, debilitating injuries or anything along those lines. but it's the mindset is the same. It's just we gotta prepare as best we can, compete as best we can, and then when we go and reflect, be better the next time out. And I tried my best to do that my entire career, and hopefully the teammates that I played with would feel the same way. They hopefully that's what they saw. Hopefully the fans enjoyed watching me pitch. I hope my interaction with fans was at least my home fans was nice. Like there are times where the road fans are a little hostile, and I might have fired back at them occasionally here and there just to to make sure they knew to pipe down while we're warming up in the bullpen or whatever. But at the same time, it was all in good fun, and it created a lot of great memories, and hopefully the memories I left people with were enjoyable for them as well.
And I believe you did that, Brad. I'm sure that you will be remembered fondly. And I tell you, you talk about speed. I saw you throw a 78 mile an hour slider, and that's the one I was referring to when we started. This thing went straight left, right. I was like, where is this thing going? And the batter swung right through it. He's like, I don't even know. Why did I swing, right? So although you did not throw those high heaters, you had some great movement with that pitch in particular. So I
Thank you.
definitely enjoyed it. Now, talking about citizenship as one of the last pillars, as a professional athlete, you've had the chance to represent your team, the nation, as you were in the U.S. team, and your community. So, what does good citizenship mean to you in that context?
To me, that's all about um, integrity and understanding that who I am off the field, I want to be no different than the person I am on the field, that no different than the person I am behind closed doors, on a road trip, whatever. Like I wanted everybody to know that like that's just who I am. It's not, um, oftentimes there's a reputation for, um, guys being, a certain way in the locker room and a certain way at the field, and then they go on a road trip and go out and party and like I think that reputation is dying down a little bit, and I honestly feel like the digital age has put a little clamp on that a little bit because you never know when you're being recorded in this day and age. When I first started in the big leagues, iPhones were just barely coming out. Not everybody had them. You could do things out and kind of get away with it. I think in that time, and nowadays it's like if you're out at a restaurant or a club or a bar or whatever, if people recognize you, they're gonna record you. They want to show their friends, hey, I was partying with this guy or whatever. And then if anything crazy happens, it's on TMZ the next morning. And that was I always wanted to live my life where if I was being recorded, it didn't matter. Like it didn't I wasn't ever gonna be afraid of my that public part of my life being put on display. And I wanted to have a private life with my wife, and we did the best we could to shelter our kids from that and stuff, but also allow them to enjoy my career. And to me that's I just wanted to again honor Christ in all that I was doing, whether it was on the field, off the field. And if a long time ago, there were bracelets that were really popular that said WWJD, what would Jesus do? And I didn't wear the bracelet, but it's if you have the mindset of living that way, then who you are, who you are in the public eye or in the private eye or whatever, none of that changes. It's just like this is just who I am. And I didn't care one bit if people followed my baseball career. My best friends, I didn't care if they followed my baseball career because we had a friendship, but long before I was ever in the big leagues. And or if it was friends that I met later, um, if they didn't ask about baseball or they didn't watch me play or follow my career, that didn't bother me at all because I knew then they weren't my friend because I played baseball. They were my friend because they enjoyed being around me. And that's the best friends I have now, that we have as couples and that we have, at our kids' school and our church and stuff. There are so many of them that I don't think have any idea that I used to play baseball. They're just like, oh, whatever. This guy, like, he golfs, he goes bowling, he plays basketball, he does, all the kind of the old man hobby stuff. And that's what, that's what we do together. And then every once in a while it'll come up in a conversation like, what do you do for work? I'm like, well, I'm actually retired. And they're like, what? And they had no idea. And I like that because they don't, I know they're genuinely in the friendship for me as a person and not for me as the ex-baseball player.
Absolutely. And wonderful that you have that perspective when you're from a faith background that Christ lived life, right? That I want you to confuse me for him, right? One of those things that we aspire to do. And
Sure.
so good for you that you had that as one of your goals. Now, we've been talking about the pillars. We've also talked about your background in the baseball field. So, where can our audience learn more about you and how can they support you?
Right now, like I said, the foundation, even though I'm not as tied in with it, pastime with a purpose is still out there and still doing a lot of great things. So you can definitely support that if you choose, or if you need help, through a foundation like that, or you have, need assistance, reach out to the people at the foundation and see if they can help. Hopefully, at a minimum, they would know to get in touch with me, and I would do what I could to help. But also, like I mean, I'm most active on Twitter as far as social media goes. Or I guess it's X now, just at Brad Ziegler, and um, you'll find I've got a pretty strong conservative viewpoint with a lot of stuff. Um, but I'm always in support of the military. No matter even if there are military members with a different viewpoint, that doesn't matter to me. I want to be someone that can have a conversation with somebody with a different perspective and learn their perspective, even if I don't agree with it, but try to respect their perspective being different from mine, and hopefully they'll do the same to me. And I'm not into like the name calling, hide behind a keyboard kind of thing. Like I made my account verified because I have no problem being out there. I want to. This is who I am, and I'm not going to change just because it's a screen name on a keyboard or anything like that. So, but that's the best place to reach out, get in touch if you want to just chat. I'm always open to that, and it's just a for the most part, from a personal life, I coach little league basketball, I coach little league softball. I'm doing stuff with my kids 80% of the day is what it feels like, especially now that summer's going. And so you'll find me out at the ball fields in Overland Park, Kansas every single night, pretty much, and just living my life and being a husband and a dad as best I can.
Well, thank you so much, Brad, for what you did on the field and what you're doing now off the field. And we'll make sure that those links to those organizations are part of the show notes and the video.
Appreciate that.
Folks, for more information on the foundation, please visit us at our website, activevaloraward.org. And on behalf of Bob Feller, Active Valor Foundation, thank you all for joining us on this episode.